think we're a gymnastics school now. We had an unbelievable event here yesterday. It was pretty cool. But, so, it's always better to go on the road after a win. There's no question about that. And it was a special day here for us because we played really well, had a great crowd, and we had our alumni reunion, and that was good. But immediately after Sunday, I talked to our players about, our captains, about the job they got to get done now. It's a interesting week. I mean, we're sitting here already, had a delay. There's going to be weather issues, I'm sure. I'm hoping to get in there tonight sometime. I'm more worried about getting out of there tomorrow because of the quick turnaround in the next game, and that's kind of the way it is right now. But I just want to make sure our players stay focused on one game at a time and a task at hand. The elephant in the room is, your rivalry and big game is on Friday. That's the way it is in this league, and you have to take care of business. I thought we did a phenomenal job of focusing in on the game against Maryland. I did not think they played nearly as well as they're capable of playing. Give us a little credit. That was not one of their best games, and I'm trying to keep that into perspective too because I've been in his shoes before. But had a really good day of practice yesterday, and today we're practicing here in about an hour, and then it was supposed to be off to Rutgers at 4:30, and now it's 6, and it could be a little later, so we'll see what happens on that. But Rutgers is a new look team. They got 10 new players, and one from the state of Michigan that was there before and is having a good year other than getting injured. But I think Dylan Grant is, one of their better players. Got a kid named Francis that doesn't even start. That is their leading scorer, and a little bit like the guard we faced the other night. 6 foot, quick, can score it in a lot of different ways. Maybe not quite the shooter, but can get to the rim and do some things. And they've had some ups and downs. They've played good. They played really good at Iowa. But of their group, there's a lot of freshmen in that group, and that's created some problems for him. I think Grant has made the biggest jump. And they got another kid named Ugboli who leads the team in rebounding. That's massive and big kid. And I guess in this game, I'm more worried about how we play, how we act, how we practice to get ready for this game, whether we live on one great performance on Saturday or whether we realize there's the big picture, and it better be the big picture. And I think our captains have done a great job of that so far. So questions, I'll take them.
Tom, you mentioned the similarities a little bit with the guard the other day at Maryland. There have been a few teams you played, Iowa being one, where they're a team that's heavily reliant on one scoring guard. When that's the matchup for you guys, you've taken it away pretty well. Is that a blueprint? I mean, every player's a little different. You're able to sort of lean on and works for what you have a little bit.
It is a blueprint. When it is a guard, it's sometimes easier to take away a guard than even a big man because the guard is out in front. Everybody can see him. Everybody can give attention to him, and especially the way some of our ball screen coverages and that have been. But they got some other guys that can score it. They just haven't been consistent scorers. I mean, and yet there's no question the Francis kid, coming off the bench like a Morris Peterson has been their best player the way it looks. But I'm not there every day to know everything. But we're going to try to take away everybody. I mean, I think we've been pretty solid defensively. And this is a pretty good rebounding team, too, and they go hard to the boards. So that'll be a big part of this whole deal, too. They do turn people over. They do not turn the ball over for a young group. Steve is a good friend, and he's a very good coach. It's not easy to coach 7, 8 freshmen in this league, but he's trying to do it. And as you all know that have been there, the RAC is not the easiest place to play. So, yeah, I have some concerns, but he'll get a little more attention, as you say, than some of the other guys to start out.
You mentioned the rack, and that was what I was going to ask you. I mean, it's been 4 years since you guys have played there. No one on this roster has experienced that, and obviously you saw what Purdue did a couple times over the last few years. How do you get these guys aware of what that's going to be like?
Yeah, it's a really good point that I didn't even think about, that we haven't been there in 4 years because we played in Madison Square Garden and everything. I mean, my experience, my staff's experience, we're just going to have to talk to them, and who knows, maybe I'll have a player or two from the past call some of our guys. But it's been a tough place to play since we've started going there, and yet we've had some decent games there, and we've had some poor games there. So I think it's more being focused on the task at hand, not letting distractions, not letting other games, not letting other things get to us, and that's what we tried to do yesterday. We're going to try hard today. I'll have a good feel for that, and hopefully we'll move forward with it.
I know you appreciate historic venues. Did you have any idea how that place was before they?
I didn't. I'd heard about the rack. We had a guy from Eastern Michigan that became the head coach there for a while and did a hell of a job, in fact. So I got to know about the rack a little more, but I had never been there. And when that place is full, it hops. And, it'll be hard to say what it'll be like with how they're doing. It'll be, but Michigan State has drawn pretty well in games recently in every venue. So I have no idea, but I do know this, as they say in Hoosiers, the rim is still 10 feet high, and the three-point line's the same, and that's where I'm happy that we've relied on our defense as our offense has slowly gotten better. We've relied on our defense because, as we all know, that does travel, and hopefully it'll travel tonight, sometime.
Back to your guys that stay in the program. This is the second year in a row you're 18-2. And you've done that with good players, obviously, but not necessarily every five-star recruit under the sun. Is there still a great deal of satisfaction to have established this a few years in a row now without all the necessarily prime recruits in the country?
Well, it's got its goods and its bads, if you want the truth. I mean, the bads are, do people think we're just not recruiting, not working? What we're trying to do is get our kind of guys. And we're trying to still rely on the players that have been in the program, and players, I get such a kick out of people that talk about the European players or this or that, Players that are playing anywhere that have experience, 18-year-olds aren't as good as 19-year-olds, aren't as good as 20-year-olds, and aren't as good as 21-year-olds. And some programs have 21-year-old freshmen. That's why I'm confused on why there's not an age limit. Like there used to be one where you had 5 years from the minute you enrolled in college till you got done. Well, now nobody's enrolling in college, so it changes all that. But satisfaction, like I told you, so sad, no, because sooner or later talent does prevail. Satisfaction that I got our kind of guys. I got guys that I know are playing for the front and the back of the jerseys, both. Excites me, and it excites me to realize that a collection of people that are playing for the good of everybody sometimes beats a collection of individuals, and I think that's what we've done, and I don't give myself any credit for that. I give those players credit for that. They're the ones that are managing the locker room. That's why I have those meetings with those captains. Better manage the locker room when you get here tomorrow. I said that Saturday night because, people look at their record and think you should win. They have no idea what it's like out there. Neither do you. I did bring that up, but I didn't realize not one of our guys have been there, but you are right. And so I'll bring that up today, give credit to the media for that, but I will bring that up today. And, satisfaction, not really as much as you'd think. because I think it's the way it's supposed to be. Guys get better every year. There is a process, and that's the way it is in all sports and all facets of life, to be honest with you. The outliers are the ones that just happen to be so talented in business and in sports and in whatever other thing there is that they just can adapt that quickly, but that's not the norm.
And Carson Cooper, a great example of that. I mean, there some people were laughing when he was a freshman. He can't play here. He's become a really good player, hasn't he?
He has become a really good player. Carson Cooper's a great example. He's playing his best basketball. Jackson Kohler's a great example. I mean, Jeremy's getting better. I do laugh because I think some of you laugh. I mean, to me, it just goes to prove Denim Wojcik is. Now he's giving us 9 minutes, 8 minutes a game. He's giving us some time. He was part of the big run the other day because he can guard it, because he can take care of the ball, because he can do the things. There's pieces for different players if they're collectively doing what the team needs to do to win. But Coop has been, I think he's learned to love and live the game, and I think that takes time sometimes. And it's fun to see a guy progress, and I talked to a lot of our former players about that. It's fun to see a guy do that, and he's doing it at a very good level right now, and so is Kohler. And I do think that we're starting to see Cohen. He's getting better. Is it as fast as he wants, or I want, or his mom wants, or his agent wants? It's never as fast as we want, but is it part of the process that everybody goes through? You're damn right it is. And Jeremy, I told you, the injury hurt him, but he's starting to play his best basketball. And I think the most exciting thing for me, and I told those four this yesterday, I don't think any of them have reached their ceiling. Now, will they? I don't know, but they haven't reached it. They have room for growth. And if they really want to buckle down and say, I got 2 months, let's go for it. We'll see. But they've all gradually made progress, just sometimes not as fast as the coach would like, and definitely not as fast as other people would like. But it's been good growth. It's been solid growth, like building a building, It's brick by brick. And when you get it brick by brick and you get the basement solid, it can withstand some earthquakes. And there are earthquakes in this business. And our guys have done a pretty good job of withstanding that, playing within themselves, not too much playing down to competition. If nothing else, maybe sometimes playing up to it. I'm proud of the team so far. We're 2/3 in. We got a third to go. And the third to go is, like, if anybody watched that guy climb that building the other day, I was dumb enough to do that. I didn't sleep at all because I was like this all night, But as he got up higher, it got tougher. That's kind of the way the season works. It's going to get tougher now, more pressure. You play against even better people. You get less rest. You get 2-day preps. There's so many things that happen now. Hopefully we've prepared them for this. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Tom, I got 2 questions for you on kind of different topics here. The first, with the travel schedule and going West Coast to East Coast, I'm wondering, winning a Big Ten championship, you have to win on the road, but how good of a preparation is this that's extreme to jet set like this.
Yeah, it is. In fact, I was talking to Danny Sprinkle a little bit today. I do got to admit, I feel sorry. I can't imagine doing that 3 times, and they're going from Rutgers or Maryland to UCLA or to Washington, that's tough. We're not as ready for that in college, Pro guys are more ready for that, and it's still tough on them. I remember interviewing for a couple of pro jobs and then looking at their schedule, and the general manager said, well, you got a loss here and a loss here and a loss here, and pretty soon it was like 8 losses. I says, well, we didn't play them. Why do we have losses? Well, they're back-to-backs, and you're traveling here and there, so we just count those, We can't do that in college. But I think it is good prep. I think it's good prep that, dealing with diversity, diverse things happen to you. you got to deal with it. You got to deal with adversity, and we're going to do that maybe tonight a little bit. And quick turnarounds are, we've had a pretty good schedule in that respect. We've had days in between games, and I say those who win the league, the schedule's got to be right. Who you play, when you play them, where you play them, how much prep time you get, how much prep time they get. All those things are so different than it used to be. But if you complain about them, you're going to be left by the wayside. So you got to deal with them, but you got to talk to your players about it too, because if you can deal with it, who cares? I don't get to bounce the ball or shoot the ball. So I do a lot of talking with them about, look, these are the pros and cons. We can complain about it, we can do it, and my guys have responded really well. I'm blessed. I can say that on that respect. Second question.
And, the second question was about going to the topic of Carson Cooper. I mean, when he came in, so he was a late enroll. He predates me, so this is why I'm asking this. The historian in me is curious, but just the way he came in and sort of how he popped on your radar, how did that all manifest? How did that come to be?
Yeah, I'm mad as hell about the way he came in, because I should have redshirted him. He's not even 21. He'll be 21 coming up. He should have redshirted and been a normal senior. He's a young senior. I told his mom and dad that the other night, and but it's also a great tribute to him that, he wasn't recruited by anybody. We barely knew about him. Doug Wojcik, a friend from IMG, called him, and guy wasn't on the first team or second team down there, but he just felt like he's 30 miles from home, and he died to be at Michigan State. And boy, we were lucky. We were lucky we got the call. We were lucky that Coop was who he is. And it took him a while. It took him a while to learn to, more than love the game. You can't play at this level if you aren't fully invested. You got to be all in. And big guys sometimes never get to be that way. But he has kind of taken it step by step. I think you're going to see we learned from him. That's why we redshirted Jesse, because we felt like, he could learn more, do more, and still have a chance. And the good thing about him, if Jesse ends up a great player, he can leave anyway, So that's the one advantage we have in basketball, that redshirting a guy is not as big a negative as some people think it is. That some people think you redshirt somebody. Purdue, Wisconsin, they've done it and won a lot of games with those kind of guys, and so did we in the past. And so, I wish I would have done it with Coop. I'd like to. Although, if any of you have a judge or a lawyer that's a friend, you could maybe get me his number, and maybe I could get him another year somehow. But Fred's right. I love when a player develops like that year after year after year. Whether it be Denzel, whether it be Draymond, there were just a lot of guys that developed over the years, and it's because it's the way life's supposed to be. And we sometimes try to speed the process so much that I think we hurt some kids. And in his case, to think we really hardly knew about him, and he was 30 miles away. And I recruit the state hard, but I think he's developing something that we'll use here as we recruit kids in the past, and we'll look at him differently. Kid's a great student. He's going to end up with his master's. He's going to, he's just, he is playing his best basketball. And I think there's still some ceiling left. So we're going to try to get that ceiling out of him. And he's going to try to get that.
Tom, I was wondering, 20 games in, 2/3 of the way, is there something, team-wise that's, I don't know, most surprising to you or most proud of that you maybe didn't see coming heading into the season?
I think we've become better defensively than I even thought we could be. We've collectively, staff has done a good job on that. The scouting that's the only thing I'm still upset about, is we turn the ball over as much as you just did that, Mike. So the positive is I think we're better defensively. The negative is I still think we're turning the ball over too much. We've had games of 5 and 6, which is phenomenal, But if we could stay under 10, I think we're a different team. And so one area would be the rebounding. We're shooting it a little better than last year. Our freshmen are coming along, you know. Jordan's been phenomenal, and I'm starting to see Cam get back on track after the injury, you know, and it's another area, you know. He has that big game against Arkansas, and it wasn't his fault he got hurt, but sometimes injury as a freshman, especially when you've never been hurt, affect you in a lot of different ways. But I'm starting to see him come back around, and that'll still help us. So I think we still have a lot of room for growth, but we also, our schedule gets tougher and tougher. So we'll see which one adds up. But to answer your question, I think it would have to be that we've been so solid defensively and rebounding. Our rebound numbers are way above other years, and sometimes I don't know how. But I think it's a collection. I think because our defense is better, I've said this my whole career, when you don't give up a lot of penetration and things, you don't get, you know, out of sync in there. And when you stay solid inside, it's easier to rebound because you got guys on their back because you're not helping and everything. So our defense leads to our rebounding, and our rebounding is, again, an area that I think we've really improved since Christmas, is Jeremy's back pushing the ball, and we're getting our break going and scoring points on our break, which has been good.
Thank you. Tom, you touched on it somewhat Saturday after the game, managing expectations as it relates to the schedule. You kind of touched on it already a little internally, but externally too. Can you talk a little bit more about managing expectations at this time of the season with what the rest of the schedule is going to be like?
Yeah, like I don't think anybody would disagree. I have not figured it out. You guys are the experts, so you should figure it out. Who's got the best schedule left? I don't really know, you know. I really don't. It's because there's so many parts of it, you know. You can say, well, who plays who twice? Well, we play Michigan twice. That's not good for Michigan State. They're the best team in the league, you know. Nebraska, I don't know who they play twice. You know, we played them on the road. So who do you play on the road? Who do you play at home? Who do you play with 2-day prep? Does that team get 4-day prep? There's a lot of different things that go into it. And there's 4 or 5 teams right now that have 1 or 2 losses. So everybody, 6 teams maybe. So I just haven't looked to see who I think has the best, but I know this. We've got some of our toughest games coming up. I think we play 4 or 5 games against teams that were in the top 10 of the KenPom or something like that. That alone is a hell of a schedule. And I just want to make sure that I think there's going to be more than a couple losses left for a lot of the teams in the top 5. Maybe all of the teams in the top 5. But sometimes fans, sometimes media, sometimes parents, sometimes players, they think, well, we're kind of going around, you know, and I'm not trying to be the Debbie Dowder of the group. I'm using my experience and realism that I know what we've got left to go here. And we've got to make sure that when there's a bump in the road, it's not a crater, it's a bump, you know. And when you start putting back to back, like Purdue's lost 2 now in a row, is that right? I mean, that hasn't happened to Purdue in a long time. And they've got a couple of home losses. That doesn't happen. They're still damn good. And it's, you know, same thing could happen to us. I mean, it's been an incredible year so far, and there's been a lot of teams, you know, watching Tennessee go into Alabama and win. I mean, people are doing this now, and so you still got to win a Big Ten championship, you got to protect your home court the best you can, and you got to win more than your share on the road, you know, more than half probably on the road. But I don't know. What normally you can predict is you could say, well, it's going to be 4 losses to win the Big Ten. But now the schedules and the travel and the timing is so different. I don't know. I'd still guess it's going to be more than 1 or 2 in my mind, but maybe somebody will run the table. I don't know.
Tom, I'm wondering, when you reference that conversation with your captains, how much are you sort of urging them to draw on the experience of having won the Big Ten last year and sort of knowing what every game means when they have knowledge now that they didn't have a year ago when they ended up doing it anyway, but are you asking them, was part of that message to sort of draw on their experience and hopefully trickle it through the roster?
No question. We used that when we went out west. Last year we went out there and we had 9-0 or something. And we lost 2 so fast it made your head spin, And so, yeah, I try to use a lot of my experience. And I'm one of the fortunate coaches in this league that have players that have been through that. Some have 10 new players, So that I think has been an advantage for me and for us. But still, the outside noise and everybody telling everybody how good they are, it's good that I make sure I tell them they're not that good sometimes, But there's a happy medium. I mean, cockiness brings confidence too, And you got to be a little cocky to be great. You got to be a little confident to be great. But you have to be real. And I know in this league, I looked at our schedule and I could see 4 games in a row losses, and I could see that for some other teams too. It's just the way it is. Especially with the travel and with the way things are going, and especially for some of those West Coast teams.
Anything else, guys?
Well, how long we got, Fred, till baseball?
18 days, 17 hours, 33 minutes, and 45 seconds.
Huh? He doesn't know. No, you know what? I believe he doesn't know. I hate to say it, Fred, love you, but I don't think you're that accurate on that thing. But hey, the faster baseball comes, the more we get done, then we're done. It's like D'Antoni used to always say to me, I love when basketball comes because football's almost done then, and then I love when football comes because that means, we're near the end of our season. Positively, I want you to make sure you realize it's a positive thing, but it's also a